Welcome to a new episode of Cool Girls Create. And it's your host, T. Westbrook. And y'all, I'm super excited today because I have a special guest, okay, that I know you all are going to relate to. She is a Chicago sister, and we're going to get into some things. So I would like to welcome Dr. Katherine Brown. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm telling you, there is no other place that I wanted to be than with you right now. So, Windy City, Chi-Town connection is just an honor.
Yay. Okay, so the Cool Girls Create podcast is the go-to source for women entrepreneurs and creators. And this is a safe place for self-reflective conversations. Okay. So, y'all, today we are going to be talking about community impact, personal branding, and really just how to maneuver when it comes to building your own business and your career. Okay, so this is gonna be some girl talk today. So let's get into the icebreaker. Okay, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. If
And
you
let me tell your viewers, I don't know what she's going to ask me. So you really are about to get a transparent conversation. So we are here for this. So I'm ready for the icebreaker.
Okay, so here we go. If you could step into the shoes of any female fictional character, whose shoes would you step into? And what do you like about that character or their journey as a woman?
So growing up, this is like years ago in Chicago, my mother was so. And so she made me a Wonder Woman costume. I'm telling you, I had the whole thing, the lasso, everything. So if I could step into it, it would definitely be Wonder Woman. Because the word wonder means I'm thinking about it. I'm considering the possibilities. And then the lasso to me represents you go out and if people don't give you what you want, you take it. You take your lasso, you wind that thing up at Wonder Woman. That's definitely my go-to. Hands down, nothing else. The Wonder Woman.
That definitely makes sense, and it's like she's the I would say a pivotal character from the 80s on up until now, and they've just like
Yeah.
reinvented her story. So, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, so let's get into the conversation. Dr. Catherine, would you talk to the cool girls a little bit about your journey, especially focusing on your journey into the CPR industry, and your journey into starting the KYB Leadership Academy?
Oh my gosh. So my journey, I'll guess I'll start with the things that you asked me for, but I do feel like it's so much more about my journey and how I started being from the true South Side of Chicago. 91st and Lafayette is where my grandmother lived at. I went to Chicago Vocational High School, Chicago State University, lived on 95th and Hoyne, went to grammar school at Gompers in Roseland, okay, on State Street. So I say that to say it's because I've always had a connection to Chicago. Those are my roots. And so when I went back, I was working as a senior educator in a hospital. And I was just concerned that why is it that people from certain zip codes are least likely to receive CPR? A, and B, why does nobody care about this? How can you keep knowing about a statistic and not want to do something about it? And so for me, I thought to myself, I just kept dreaming about it, dreaming about it, dreaming about it. So I resigned from my job and opened up the first freestanding CPR company on the south side of Chicago. Now, you've heard the phrase, if you build it, they will come. I built it and they did not come. And so my journey is really one of resilience because what I had to do was decide, you're going to sink or you're going to swim. I got my mannequin and my 4 children, and I started knocking on people's doors. "Hey, it's Dr. Catherine. If someone in this house went in a sudden cardiac arrest, would you know what to do?" People slammed the door in my face. I got so many no's, but I never embraced the no because I was too laser focused on the yes. I knew the yes would come. It's about being resilient. And eventually, I got someone. She opened up the door, let me teach her. And from there, it just caught on like wildfire. I've stood on the corner with signs that said, "Honk if you know CPR. If you don't, pull over and I'll teach you." And I taught people on the side of the road, parks, biker bars, homeless shelters, encampments, churches, schools, national organizations. That's my CPR journey. So much so that as of today, I have literally trained over 300,000 people for free, nationally and internationally, in CPR. I'm now a CPR spokesperson. I am the first African American female to receive the Martin E. Simmons Award from the American Heart Association, and I am the 2023 uh, American Heart Association. It's their International Resuscitation Science Symposium. I am your Resuscitation Science Symposium champion. I didn't think that those things were possible for somebody like me, growing up on the south side of Chicago, being a teenage mother. I didn't think that was my narrative, but what was my narrative was resilience. So that's how I got started. My company in Chicago was Dr. Catherine and Associates CPR courses. It's evolved. So now it's Learn CPR America. And now that I've done that work, T, where I'm going at now is training other entrepreneurs in how to have their own businesses and join us as instructors, because I believe that my next mission is workforce development, helping people to be able to provide for their families. So then you asked about the KYB Leadership Academy. You got to shift gears. My mother was a nurse for over 40 years. She started me doing CPR at the age of 16. Well, she was diagnosed with pulmonary hypertension. Because she was misdiagnosed for so long, she got delayed diagnosis, which meant she got delayed treatment, which meant what? Delay in her quality of life, and her life was shortened because of that. So we started a nonprofit organization called the Roberta Baines Wheeler Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Group, and she was still alive at the time. The patients were too sick to advocate for themselves, so we thought, maybe we'll have youth leaders to help us. The youth leaders were not trained in the skills that they really needed for this advanced level of leader of leaders of leaders. So it didn't exist. We created the KYB Leadership Academy. Now, people would say, well, who named it? My mother named it. She said, "You were my only child. I didn't have to do it a second time because I got it right with you." And she said to me, "You are the only thing I've ever done right in my life. So it shall be called the Dr. Katherine Y. Brown Leadership Academy." So I condense it, because I don't want it to focus on me, if you will, but on the work. So we call it KYB. So we do 4 modules, 4 core areas, 7 competencies. Let me tell you this real fast, and I'm throwing it right back to you. We started in 2016. To date, we're up to 30 cohorts of transforming lives nationally and internationally. We have over 260 scholars who have completed our program, in which they do a capstone project. They do 7 competencies. We have taken students to Dubai, Costa Rica, Medellin, Colombia, South America, Johannesburg, South Africa, Turks and Caicos Islands. We're getting ready to go to Trinidad and Tobago in 2 weeks. After that, we're going to Guyana. And then the next one we are planning is Greece. So KYB got started because there was a need. We responded to the need, and it manifests into something much more bigger than what I could have ever imagined, because we're getting ready to train 1,000 students in Trinidad. I never could imagine that.
Yeah, it's so this is why I wanted to have this conversation with you, because there's layers to what it is that you do. And I find that, as a creator, um, there are different buckets, different passions that I have, different things that I want to accomplish when it comes to being a light in the community. So, with all of the things that you've mentioned before, your journey, as a teenage mom coming from the South Side of Chicago, seeing the gap, when it comes to that CPR education, and then again, seeing the gap when it comes to cultivating young leaders, what are some of the challenges that you face that come to the top of your mind, and how did you overcome those challenges?
T, you always talk about being a creative. That has been my greatest challenge because I look for what doesn't exist. If everyone is on the left side, I'm trying to figure out who's not being served. When you're looking for what does not exist, you always wind up being the first. The first is hard because you're creating it, and nobody's going to believe in you like you believe in you. Let me tell you, so how do I go from having my son at 18, in my 20s, being the first African American doctoral faculty member in the history of Belmont University. Later on, in my 40s, being the first dual recipient of the Athena Traditional Leadership Award and the Athena Young Professional Award, inducted into the YWCA Academy for Women of Achievement, all these different things. Guess what? It's not because people told me yes. It's because every time they told me no, I learned to love the no like I learned to love the yes. And that's what people need to hear. You have to be so laser focused on your goal that when you get to no, you're like, hey, no, I'll see you later. I'm still rolling to yes. You get another one. Hey, no, how you doing? No, it's all good because I'm still going to my yes. And when you get to your yes, when you're a true, creative and caregiver, your yes is not the end. The yes is just, hey, I hit this yes. Hey, yes, what's up? We ready for the next one? You got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Nobody told me that because
Mm.
when I opened up the CPR company, nobody wanted to fund me. Nobody wanted to believe in my dream. I do not have, this is real, we're going to get raw. I don't have one major grant right now for KYB, but what I do have is impact and lives change. So when people see me out here saying, hey, will you buy a copy of this book for $15 so we can donate it to the young people? And people look like that will cost you what you spend at Starbucks. But they don't want to support it. But then when I get back and the young people are here, oh, can I meet the young people? My young people are leaders. They're not your photo op. You either believe in the work and you're going to invest in it or you're not. This is real. So this is what I learned is that you have to have courage, perseverance, resilience. You have to believe in your dream, right? And be relentless in it and not wait for anybody to shake a pom-pom for you. You better bring your own pom-pom. And this is why you hear me in the community, T. I tell people, you're amazing. I tell you that every time I see you, T, you're amazing. You have a light, your light shines, and don't you ever let anybody dim your light. I say that. I say, we from Chicago. You got a light.
Mhm.
I tell everybody, but guess what? What about the people that don't hear that? That's part of my journey right now because that's how I do it. I did not have anybody to tell me except for my mother. She told me I was amazing, but other people didn't tell me. So now, how do I deal with T? I carry my own pom-pom. What's up, Katherine? You're amazing. It doesn't matter that you just got 1,000 no's. You're amazing. You're on your way to another country. They're donating. They're naming 2 libraries in the country. The Dr. Katherine Y. Brown.
Woo! I was
Literally
about
in
to say
another country.
congratulations to that. So it's
Yeah.
it's a couple of things that I want to reiterate because I believe the same thing that you believe when it comes to people don't hear these messages. And so when I was in college, first starting my business, graduated from college, got me a nice little salary, in finance, accounting. Everybody had the pom poms, goatee. The moment I decided that I wanted to walk away from corporate America and say, I'm going to do this thing with my husband and we're going to support Black owned businesses, Child, people were like, okay, I don't see it. And then it was 1 year that passed, and 2 years that passed. And it's a couple of things that stood out to me when you were talking. You might have people that support you in your dream when you first start out. You might or might not, right?
Yes.
But at some point, those people that support you, they're going to go on to their own lives. They have their own ceilings in their mind that they've created. And so they might not necessarily see the vision, get the vision, or care about the vision. And I wish that when I started, I had someone to let me know, don't get too attached to the yes or the no. Stay attached to the results, right? Exactly what you're saying. And the other thing is, I don't need anybody else to validate my vision, because, and now we're getting spiritual, because God gave me my vision,
Yeah.
and it's not up to anybody else to understand it. He gives you the gifts, he gives you the tools. And so it's really up to you to continue to move that vision forward. And I love that you mentioned that, because people talk about the glitz and glam of starting your own business or being a community leader, getting the awards, but nobody talks about the struggle behind the scenes when you're up against the wall, you have limited resources,
Mhm.
everybody has told you no. What do you do?
What do you do? That's a conversation. I would agree. We don't have that conversation enough, right? So when you think about people being there, that pain point is part of growth because some people will be in your life for a season. The other thing that I want people to know watching this, you have the vision. Stay focused on your vision. There will be people who look at you and what you do and think that is easy. And they'll say, "Oh, if she do it, I can do it." And they will try to duplicate what you do, but they don't have the full vision because most creatives are still dreaming and creating. So you think that you see everything that we're doing and we're still manifesting. But if you ever find yourself in a place where somebody duplicates you or steals your idea, you know what I tell people? Bless it. Bless it. Because if you got that idea and that was my best at the time, I know that I am the source and I know the source from a spiritual lens that it's more coming. So if this thing is to the point where that I say, God says to me, right? Hey, I'm gonna let somebody else have it. Can you imagine the next thing that's coming? Because here I am. I started one lens and I am not even 50 years old yet. I'm not 50. And I'm a global philanthropist. I'm a national speaker. I have a leadership academy. I'm doing coaching and mentoring and helping other people achieve their dreams. Guess why? Because I tell people it's very simple. I want you to get it faster than I got it and be greater than I was by the time I got it. And I need you to do the next thing for someone else. So I'm so busy being excited about other people and amplifying it. I agree with you. I'm not worried about the no's. What the no means next opportunity. And if I could share something that happened to me. So here I was going to another country and we thought it was going to be 30 people. Okay. Then all of a sudden the number jumped and they said, no, you have 8 schools, 1,000 students. And I thought, oh my gosh, we didn't budget for this. And so I was getting so many no's at such a rapid pace. I'm saying between phone calls, text, emails, over 1,000 something no's. Okay. Wake up, make a phone call. This person is a yes. I'm walking down a hallway. Somebody says, Dr. Brown, didn't you send me a packet? I say, yes. They said, okay, what do you need? If I would have got caught up in those no's, I would not have got to the yeses because the yes people are people that now I'm getting ready to do something greater with. So you can't focus on the no. The no means that there is another opportunity that's best suited for you. So those people were meant to tell me no. It was meant for me to have my resilience and to stay focused on my goals and to keep going. Somebody has to hear, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. You got to know, get up again, get up again, get up again. unless you get that, you will always have a hobby and you will never really manifest because being an entrepreneur is not a hobby. And you got to learn how to draw your line in the sand. You know the line in the sand I'm talking about? The line in the sand means that there is a fee. You cannot go to your local store and tell them, I want what's on your shelf for free. Yeah, you have to pay
Mm-hmm.
for it. So we as entrepreneurs and creators, we have to know our worth and be comfortable saying, you know what, thank you so much for thinking about me. It seems that right now I might not be the best to serve you, but there are so many other people who can serve you. Be okay with that. Nobody tells you that. So at first, what do? You're burning yourself out because you think that everything is meant for you. You're thinking that you are the only source. I'm not the only source. There are some amazing sources, right? But if you want Dr. Katherine Y. Brown and what I bring and my years of experience, because I got a lot of practice, right? I got a lot of no's up front, then this is what that investment cost. And I believe that you're worth making an investment in, but you have to decide if that investment is going to come through one of my entities, right? So the Leadership Academy, we're doing the international work for free when we go to other countries. So that's donating time. But there are other things that I do. Creatives have to have multiple streams of income. We didn't even get to that part. So I'm going to be quiet because that's a whole nother topic that we don't even talk about as well. Because if I am not working and I don't have multiple streams coming in, how am I going to take care of my family?
Talk about it. So really you're driving the conversation in the direction that I was going in. So just to close the loop on what you were saying, I think it's imperative to develop those skills when it comes to resilience and perseverance. And I know
Mhm.
that they may seem like buzzwords or words that we hear all the time, but I can totally relate to what you're saying. And I can't imagine if I didn't have that tough skin to say, I'm going to pick myself back up or go to my community to help, so they can help me pick myself back up. But if you don't have that already internally in within you, it's very hard to create and go further and be an entrepreneur. um so but all of these things also tie into another huge part of what we were talking about, and that's leadership. And so when you think about, and I do want to circle back to the entrepreneur conversation. So, um, but let's talk about leadership for a moment. So you talked about perseverance and resilience. What are some other strong leadership skills that you feel you've had to develop to get to the place where you are now? And and think about, some of those other things that people don't talk about in general.
Oh, you are opening up some serious sauce right here. Let me tell you.
I think it's important because people start businesses, but people are not leaders and they're not willing to cultivate those skills. And
Yeah.
you cannot lead a business if you can't even lead yourself or your team.
Okay, so here we are. All right, all right. So you're hitting so many points. I wish I had like a little whiteboard so I could write it down. So first of all, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. If you don't have influence, if nobody is coming to your leadership or other initiative, then you really got to question, if the room is empty, am I a leader? The other thing is that when we talk about entrepreneurship and other things, some people are in the community under the auspices of that they're doing leadership, but they're really doing salary and they're fulfilling somebody else's dream. Let's be candid about it. You might have purpose and that might be your purpose, but there are other team creatives that we have to get a arsenal around us to build our team. We don't talk about that.
Ooh.
The other thing about leadership is discipline, if I can be 100% honest. So earlier on, I thought that I knew what success was. I thought that success meant, you have the house, the car, the children, the dogs. You're a leader in all of these civic and professional organizations. And so I get to this point. I'm a president in so many prestigious organizations. I've chartered over, my gosh, over 10 national organizations. I've done all the things, I've checked the boxes. And I felt so unfulfilled. I said, what is wrong? This doesn't feel good to me. I started to step back. I started to resign from these positions and things and find out what really makes you happy, Katherine. Because to be a leader, I have to also be fulfilled because it won't be sustainable if I'm not my true, authentic self. So, what I found for me as a leader is being able to speak truth to power. If I'm in a meeting, the meeting is supposed to start at 6 p.m. because I'm a business owner, and you start your meeting at 6:20 because you want to wait for other people. And then 7 p.m. gets there and you ask me for 1 hour of my time, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. You didn't ask me for 7:20, you asked me for 7. So people in the community would be like, Dr. Brown, are you serious? I said, yes, because now you're abusing my time. I can give you my money and get it back. But when I give you my time, I am giving you a part of my life I will never redeem back. I can't get my time back. Every time I'm in a meeting or something where I'm not supposed to be at, I am not completing the assignment that I was called to do. Because guess what? If I'm not building young leaders up, I don't take a salary from KYB as of this date. I've never taken money from the nonprofit. It's been a total give back. So if I'm not doing that, I'm not doing the work. And we don't have that conversation. Guess what? If more people set boundaries, the meeting starts at 6. You should probably get there at 5:45, 5:50, so we can start at 6. And it ends at 7. We would have more effective meetings and more professional, particularly women, would not be burned out. But what we find is that we are overworked, overwhelmed to the capacity that nothing is happening. So we're not leading. What we are doing is creating an imbalance in the infrastructure of what leadership should look like. That's why I just wrote a book. It's called Imbalance: The Perception of Unfulfillment in the Modern Day Woman. When you think leadership should look a certain way, but that we are all meant to lead differently. I lead in one way, you lead in another way. We're both leaders because we have what? Influence. So this is the essence to me of leadership. And I want people to understand you are amazing. Your light shines differently. But when you look at leadership, what is your mission? Are you accomplishing the mission? And do the metrics say that it is success? And are you pleased with the metrics? So we can't have a conversation about leadership without having a conversation of influence and relationships. But what I do want to say is this: going to 20 social events a week and being in a lot of photos means you're great at taking photos. It does not mean that you're a great leader. If you want to be a great leader, you got to practice leading. If you want to be a great community activist, you got to practice advocating in your community. If you want to be great at posing in pictures, then pose in pictures. But posing in pictures and hashtags and tags does not mean that you're leading anyone except for the algorithm in the social media app that's tracking your likeness. That's where I'm at with it.
Oh my gosh, y'all can't see my face, but I'm over here like, yes, yes, talk about it. So there is like so many things that you touched on. So I want to talk about, well, I'm just going to go through each thing and give my little 2 cents
I love it.
to my audience. Influence. Leadership is about influence. If you would like a good resource, do I have this book on me? There are 2 books that I would suggest. One is Power of Influence. It talks about why influence is important and just the basics around how to develop as a leader. And then there is another book about influence, and I'll link that in the description for this episode, but it's about leadership and being an influential person in your space. Now, to get to be in a place where you have influence is where I want to spend a little bit of time, because you talked about discipline, right? You talked about boundaries and being respectful of your own time. And so what I've learned, because look, as a creator, we get paid the least and work the most, okay? So I could definitely relate to all of that. But I found that as my influence has went up, it is because I've drawn the line in the sand. I've practiced discipline, right, around how I spend my time, what I respond to, how accessible I am, and I clearly know what I bring to the table. But the other part of that I wanted to add was that you have to do what you said you were going to do. Like my word is so important to me, and that hasn't always been the case. But I think, well, I believe as I've risen in my influence and impact in my community, a big part of that is because I show up and do the work. I do what I said I was going to do. And going back to what you were saying, Catherine, about not just popping up in pictures, popping up at events, being in the crowd, a lot of people like to do that and then call themselves leaders, but where are the results? Where are the metrics? And how are you treating yourself and the people around you behind the scenes when the lights and the cameras and the action, is happening? And so
Yeah.
I think it's so important that you brought that up.
How are you living? So here's the thing. When I started out, there were these women and I thought they were so influential. And I thought like, hey, I mean, I've got all the things, but that's really not it. Now, I like what I like, but I'm telling you, people look at that and they're like, oh, she's got her, St. John or Yerman or Gucci or this, that. That is means nothing at all. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything at all.
Nothing.
But I'm talking about the metrics of saving lives, right? This
Yes.
is what, how are you living? So I really feel like if you want to know how a leader is doing, ask their children.
Ooh.
This is real. So I started something with my children. I said, I'm going to be accountable and I need your help me. How can we help you be accountable, mom? So my son Rob, so I have four. I didn't tell you that. So Anthony is 30. He's a nurse. Sydney is 23. She is in medical school at Charles R. Drew University, part of their inaugural class. She's studying to be a physician researcher, and I think she's going to go be a surgeon as well, likely. So I'm going to manifest it. Sydney, you're going to be a surgeon. Then my son Irving graduated from Fisk University at the age of 19 with his bachelor's degree. He's 22.
Ooh.
He loves community engagement and leadership. And Robert is 15. He is a sophomore at Father Ryan High School. So if I'm getting in the car and we're getting ready to do something or they're visiting or I'm with Robert, I say, hey, Robert, I got to drop you off. I got a speaking engagement. Robert knows to ask the tough question, is that paid? It is. And so sometimes they'll crack a joke. And this is because they know my earlier trajectory. He said, are they giving you a gift card or a check? And that's our joke. Because early on, I just want to say to everybody who is watching this, do not offer speakers a gift card. We cannot pay any utility bills with your gift card. And in fact, I would rather you give me my honorarium than offer me a chicken dinner because I don't really like chicken. The point is this: you have to invest in yourself and you have to have accountability. So I say that in a jokingly way. Somebody's going to be like, she anti-chicken. I'm not. But what I'm saying is that I am anti being abusive to myself and my gifts and not being able to serve my family well. I cannot call my son's private school and say, hey, I did a speaking engagement. They want the check. So you got to invest. I can't say, hey, I want you to come with me to another country. And you like, okay, what's that looking like? So these are the conversations I think that we have to have in terms of taking care of ourselves, because this is the secret. You talked about books. John Maxwell's Put Your Dream to the Test changed my life. It's a game changer. Um, I just wrote one, Dear Fear, Dear Failure, Dear Success, a letter to myself. Because you have
Yes.
to understand, why are you saying yes to things that don't serve you well? There is something that you are afraid of that will allow you to say yes to something that is in a direct contraindication of you being healthy, whole, and holistic. So we got to get to the root of that. And then we got to reimagine your success. So all of those things for me are part of where I'm going. And the one thing I would say, you cannot have power over powerless people. So if you are a leader and you're not empowering your community, I question if you're powerful. Because how am I going to show up and I haven't empowered people? I want to pass the baton to the next generation because I'm still growing up, glowing up. There's so much more. I'm getting ready to go into Liberia, all throughout Africa. These are the things I want to help empower, right? Because you cannot be powerful if the infrastructure is not powerful. And that is a conversation that we have to start having as well.
Look, we're gonna have to bring you back for a part two because we getting into some things. So a couple of things stood out to me. The one thing that you said at the end about having a powerless people or being powerful, but you're over powerless people, or just not empowering your people is a perfect segue to servant leadership. And so you mentioned, okay, now cool girls, creatives, entrepreneurs, this is my take. I'm speaking for myself and Dr. Katherine can tune in. But a lot of the times we are dishing out our gifts for free, essentially, because we don't have a clear understanding of our self-worth, right? And a lot of times we're underestimating the gifts that we have. So something that might come easily to me, say for instance, creating content, storytelling, uh being tech savvy, in my mind, it's like, oh, this is super easy. So I'm not placing that much value on what it is that I bring to the table. And of course, if you tie in being a Black woman, there's trauma around that, right? So the first thing that I wanted to add was, in order for you to, like you said, Dr. Catherine, start to elevate and charge people what you're worth, is you have to make that decision internally that even if you're not to yourself the very best of the best in whatever industry you're in, you're going to work to improve your skill set, improve what you bring to the table as far as products or services. But in the meantime, you're going to pay me for my time, my effort, and essentially my results. I think that's a decision that you have to make internally and you have to stick to it. The other part that you mentioned, and I really want to talk about this in the entrepreneurship space, but also just like servant leadership in general. Um, when it comes to being a speaker, and I want your advice on this, or your take on this, but I just got into the space. I've been an entrepreneur for a little over 10 years. This is the first year in my career where I have the confidence to speak in front of people about my expertise. Now, I'm in a space where I'm like, I'm taking opportunities. So I want to practice what I got going on. I'm in the building stage of, getting my what am I trying to say? My key talking points together, my key messages, and all of those
Yeah.
things. And so I believe that as long as you are on a path to make sure that you're getting to the level where you can get paid or get paid, like you said, your honorarium, I feel like people shouldn't expect to start off from the gate being someone that is, I'm going to start off at, I don't know, $10,000 for my honorarium or $2,000 for this if you haven't laid the foundation and put in the work. What do you think about that? Is that the
So
wrong
here,
take?
all right. So here, this is what I want to say to you is twofold. If you're good, you're good.
Mhm.
Acknowledge that you're great at it, T. And so if you have a gift and you've worked hard and you've cultivated your skill, then you charge your worth, right? So I do coaching for people as well. I get with them, I'm a disc trainer, so I do their leadership style, and then I help them to build the infrastructure of what they want their speaking business to look like because it's a business. So the one thing, I'll give you one of my nuggets that I do with people in terms of charging. My fee is not based on a random number. It is based upon What do I need to make annually to sustain my lifestyle? So if your goal is to make, we'll just pick any number, let's say 50,000, a year, obviously more, but we're going to just use this for math's sake. So if you need to make 50,000 a year, you should divide that by 12. That's how much you need to make a month, because now you're in 1099 world. Okay. That's a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother conversation that we can have about,
It's a
because
whole.
can I just pause? The first time I looked at those tonight and I had too many, I was like, I'm about to owe the people a lot of money. So anyway, the point, you get nervous about them. So here's the thing. So you divide by the 12, okay? This gives you a month. Then you say, for this particular thing that I'm doing, speaking, how many hours a month do I want to do? And do I want then how many hours per week? So now the math will show you what you want to do. So if based on my skill set, my qualifications, and what I want to make, if that winds up being that I'm doing one a month at 10,000, then that just is what it is. Now, here's the tougher question for the speaker or the aspiring speaker. Are you in the circle with people who value what you have to offer? Because
Mm,
you might need to be in C-suite and other areas, and you are marketing yourself to people who are in the same structure that maybe cannot afford what you're doing. You got to check yourself. There's a time to
mm-hmm.
give, there's a time to receive. When I am doing paid CPR training for healthcare providers and other things, that is a fee, because the money I use for that, I use to do what? Give back through philanthropy. So
Mm-hmm.
I say, if you feel that you're worth a $10,000 honorarium, no worries, but bring your A game. Start to use those speaker platforms that are in place. You have many of them out there. I'm happy to connect with anybody offline, but you need to make sure that that EPK or that electronic press kit is solid. What are your speaking topics? Are you just going to do lunch and learns? Are you doing a 1 hour, a 45-minute, a 15-minute? So all of these come into play, because people say speaking. So am I speaking for 10 minutes for 10,000, or am I doing a half day workshop for 10,000? Am I doing an 8 hour workshop? You have to know your packages, your topics. You have to know the concept of how do you funnel. All of these things matter. But what the challenge is that if you're not in the industry, you don't know how to respond to the industry or advise people, which takes me to one more nugget. If we can climb up, there is a danger in social media, because there are people who have not done the work or the skill set, but because your graphic and image looks good, you've dubbed yourself as an expert and you can't really guide people. I had someone
Mm-hmm.
say to me, she said, well, how much is your fees? Because I do a consultation first and we do these things. And she says, oh, I'll have to look at my budget and then I'll let you know what I can afford. Line in the sand. This is my price. You can look at your budget and see if you're ready for what I'm doing, but you cannot come to me and tell me that you'll let me know what your budget is. Why am I telling you that? Because being a cool girl means to cool, calm, slab, walk away. That might not be for you. Don't block somebody
Mm-hmm.
else's blessing. Somebody might be really excited about that $10 Target gift card. Let them get that gift card. Don't you block their blessing. They might want that $5 Kroger gas
I
card. Let them
cannot
get that
deal with
gas card.
you.
Why you blocking a blessing? Taking it begrudgingly, putting your work into it. Listen, that is for somebody. Let them have that. But there are some people that have a budget, and that budget, that's hey, can you speak, Dr. Absolutely. Can you send me some information, details, the budget? It's okay, because I can't give back if I can't take care of myself. That's why my family is my accountability partner, because there was a time I would go, I have traveled, my gosh, to other states because people ask me to come and I go and they give me nothing but a hug. Don't even have your face on the flyer. How you got me teaching CPR for your organization for free? And you
Mm-hmm.
don't even want to put my face on the flyer? Just the Why? Because we accept less than what we're worth. we have to start saying, yes, I'll send it over. Please send me a copy of the flyer. Did you spell my name correctly? My name is
Yes.
Dr. Katherine Y. Brown with the middle initial included. These are the conversations, these are tough talks. So, guess what? When you have a contract outline for your speaking engagement, and there are certain cadences that we show fellow speakers, your contract that you submit, it shows your worth. But if you still doing text talk, now text talk might not be a 10,000. But if we show you the right way to set it up, oh, yeah, you're ready, but you have to get ready. You have to humble yourself to learn from somebody else and create the cycle. So if I have a speaking engagement, if I can't do it, why would I not pick up the phone? Hey, T, I got this. Can you do this one for me? Because I know your work. Why are we trying to hold everything to ourselves?
Ooh.
Share, share.
So it's
So that's my
so
take.
I was gonna say, let me hop in here, because yes, it's like, first of all, thank you for the consultation, right? Because what happens, so again, it's a couple of things that you said that stood out to me. Um, don't don't be taking these speaking engagements for the free and you're getting nothing out of it. And so in my mind, I'm like, it took me this long to figure out that I'm an expert because I had to put in the work to become the expert. And I also, you said two things. Are you in the right circles? That is a conversation I literally just had this week because people think that they have less opportunities than other people. But a lot of the times it's just, are you in the right rooms? Are you positioning yourself the right way? The other part of what you said, about just having someone like you coach you through, if you're going to be a speaker is a business. This is how things work. This is best practices for speakers. It wasn't until maybe a few years ago that I started taking in mentors and other information to help me along my journey. And if there's nothing that you hear that stands out to you, I want you, when you're listening to this conversation, I want you to be open to this. In our culture, a lot of times we look at coaches and mentors with the side eye, or we say we've been burned, blah, blah, blah. You are not going to be able to elevate as fast as you want to, or grow, or scale, or do whatever it is that you want to do successfully if you're depending on your own limited knowledge bank. And so you need people like Katherine, who's an expert in speaking, who's doing coaching and saying, and you have to make that investment and say, okay, what is it that I need to know so that I can have a successful path or at least a good kickoff, right? And so I think if I knew that back then when I started, my journey would have been a little bit different. But the other part to that is, as an entrepreneur, business owner, somebody who's in the community, you don't really, a lot of times you just have to learn from experience. No matter how many times you knock somebody on the head and say, don't listen to social media, stop chasing these social media gurus, or you need a coach or whatever it is, people are going to keep bumping their heads until they're ready not to,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so, oh, I was going to say, you
No,
want
I
to
was
answer
going to
that?
say I agree with you because there are so many millionaires in the world that you've never heard of, but they're still millionaires. So getting mentorship and other things is really powerful. All great coaches have coaches. All great mentors have mentors. That is just how it works. You have to learn from experience and expertise. And it's okay for those of us like me. I started out on the free, but I went from free to fee. I started off on the gift card circuit, all of that. That's fine because it taught me and it gave me the groundwork to be better at my gift. And so I'm more succinct and understanding how to deliver an experience to
Mm-hmm.
audiences. So I needed that practice. And I'm thankful. Thank you, everybody who gave me a hug and a smile. who gave me a meal. I thank you so much for all the gift cards. And I thank you now that you are elevated and you now have big budgets. And I thank you for bringing me back.
Well, see, yes. And I wanted to, so just a little trick. If you're in a space where you're just starting out, getting your feet wet with becoming a speaker, uh, leading workshops, whatever it is, the way that I leverage my speaking engagements right now, if they are not paid, is I make sure that this is an opportunity for content creation. So I make sure that yes, my face is going to be on the flyer, it's going to be spelled correctly. I need to be, my information needs to be sent out to the audience, or I need to have access to that audience's contact information. And we're gonna make sure we're getting the photos, the videos, the social media content, because that is going to be something that I can leverage for my brand. So
Absolutely.
just think about those things as you maneuver as a speaker or entrepreneur. Now, circling all the way back, because I know this conversation is long, but I really want to talk about this. Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about servant leadership, because we talked about um so being a community advocate, being an entrepreneur. Now, when you're a servant leader, uh, from my perspective, that means that you are in the community that you claim to love and support. You're in that community and you're a servant. Now, there's a fine line between getting pimped out, right? And serving serving for free and getting nothing out of it, and leveraging your service to further empower yourself, your community, etc. My question to you is, when it comes to impacting the community, how have you leveraged being on boards, volunteering, and other things to build your own personal brand? And I'm asking, let me give you some context. I'm asking this because from my experience in the conversations that I've had with Black women, particularly millennial on down, they don't necessarily understand the value of serving in the community or volunteering or joining boards. And to me, it's been pivotal in elevating my brand. And so, what are your thoughts and your experience on that?
I think that there are different levels to servant leadership. And so for me as a servant leader, the way I approach it is first is listening to the needs of the community, listening. If I want to serve people experiencing homelessness, I need to listen to their needs. If I want to serve teen mothers, listen. Now, once I listen to their needs, then I determine what is my capacity to serve them at the level that they need, want, deserve, desire to be served at. So if I listen to the whole matrix and I say, you know what, in this need that you have, this is what I can do, but I can also create a program or project that can serve in a more powerful way. So that might be one way I'm leading because I'm designing. Another way I might just be implementing. Another way I might be just boots on the ground, show up day of serving and facilitating a certain section of it. So I think we miss it because we don't understand that there are different levels to servant leadership. Serving on boards is phenomenal, but if you're in the place in your career where you still are, where you have to punch in and then punch out, and it's going to cause a financial hardship, jeopardize your job, then it doesn't mean that you're not ready to be a servant leader. It might mean that that is not the space that you need to serve in. So again, you have to what are the needs? What level of service is needed? How can I serve? There are different types of service, and we're not talking about it, right? You have direct service. That's what you're talking about. But I can do indirect service and still be a servant leader. I can do advocacy based, servant leadership, advocating, looking at policies and other things. So we have to first understand what are the types of service. That's what we teach our scholars in KYB. What are the types of service? How are you called to serve? And how can you measure your impact? So I want you to break that one down because I really want people to understand what is the need? How can you meet the need? What is your capacity? And then determining how you will serve. To me, your brand is what you do, not what you say. Do you show up when you say you're going to show up? Are you on time? Are you ready to serve? Are you competent and confident in what you are providing? So, for me, servant leadership, I've done the things like coordinating walks in the community. I've done the health fairs. Um, we do KYB, caregiver appreciation days. Grief was an issue in our community. So I developed, it's called the RBW, Her Life, Our Legacy, that honors people's that mothers have transitioned. I've done CPR marathons, 24-hour marathons. So I thought about the ways in which I could serve, but now my servant leadership capacity has grown so that you might see me, but I'm serving more, like I say, globally now. So it looks different. So you just got to keep asking the questions. And as you grow, the ways in which you serve should grow. The one thing I will say is giving back is not just about time. The more you make, the more you, and that's what I learned with the 1099 thing. The more you have those pieces of paper, you should be giving back. Yes, you're going to have business expenses, but how are you giving back? We are blessed to truly be blessings, and that's the heart of servant leadership. Is what can you do? And even if you just donated $20 a month to a cause and then showed up once a quarter, you would make an impact.
Yes, I agree. And I want it because you said make it clear. So we're really talking about how you can be of service in your community in different ways and lead. But the other part of servant leadership is also an internal thing with your teams because um from my experience, my goal as a leader is to empower my team so that they can make decisions and do things on their own. And so, in order to do that, I have to be that person for them that is providing the resources, the connections, the opportunities to empower them. So, I wanted to just add that piece. Okay.
Correct. But here's the thing,
Oh, go ahead.
a lot of people, the way in which they want to serve, servant leadership sometimes is within the construct of their organization, right? Building capacity versus people who are talking about actually initiating servant leadership in the community. So the first thing is, do you even have a team? Do you have buy-in? So again, servant leadership leading who? So before I had a team, I had the people. And so the people were, hey, I am me. This is what I can give you me. I'm going to give you the best me, my time, but I need you all to help me to bring me in front of the people who need me. Help me. So again, some people don't have a team. You got a great team, right? Everybody doesn't have that. It doesn't mean they can't strengthen that muscle. See, servant leadership is a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger you get. Your capacity gets stronger. But when you don't use it, it kind of atrophies or wastes away. So people are entrusting you to build capacity and achieve those organizational goals. And you have to decide how you'll build that infrastructure to do that. But even if you don't have a team, you can create a team within the community. That's the fierce advocacy. And
Mhm.
so again, we want it to look a certain way. Does it look that way? It might not look that way. When I started out, I was much more valuable when I left my own zip code. When I came back, then they knew my worth. But I had to leave my zip code to demonstrate my capacity for servant leadership. And people, we
Mhm.
don't want to have that conversation. That's a whole nother time
Well,
to talk about that.
yeah, we're gonna talk about that in part two because you coming back. Yes, we don't want to have that conversation right now. Okay, so let's close this out. I'm gonna do a quick fire round. So I'll ask you, I'm gonna do three questions quick, and then I want you to be thinking about your final word, the final piece of advice that you would like to offer women entrepreneurs, women creators, Black women in general on um how to elevate themselves going into the year. Okay, quick fire round. You've been to a lot of destinations, but what has been your favorite?
uh, Turks and Caicos Islands because of the people and the lives we got to change with the students there. My favorite destination so far.
Okay. Top 3 items on your bucket list.
Gosh, top 3 items on my bucket list. Okay, so oh my gosh, I know this. I want to go skydiving. I want to jump out of an airplane. Um, I wanted a Maserati. I got one. So now I want a Bentley. So that's my next bucket list to get the Bentley. And then to have the KYB Leadership Academy in all 50 states of the United States.
50 states. Okay. And then last question. Your favorite snack or treat during a work break?
Oh my gosh, I can't get my favorite snack all the time during the work break
Is it
because
from
it would be
Chicago?
Baracco's Pizza that is in Chicago. But if I'm local, right, my favorite snack is just celery. I don't want anything on the celery. I just love to eat celery. I can take a whole thing of celery and eat it. I love celery, especially when it's cold. I love celery. That's my favorite snack.
Okay. I was like, not even some peanut butter on it, or
I don't want peanut butter, no raisins, no cheese, no sour cream, no cream cheese, nothing. I just want celery. And it's so funny. My family's like, are you eating celery again? I'm like, yes. And I would just literally eat celery. I could just live off of celery all day, just celery.
okay. All right. So let's close the cool girls out with the final word. What advice do you want to give them based on your experience as a leader?
My words of advice for you as a leader is that I want you to know that you are enough, you are worthy, and that you were created for a purpose. If you woke up today, that means you have a purpose. And there is a missing piece in this universe that will only be created if you walk in your purpose. So don't be afraid to embrace the no, the yes. Be courageous, persevere, and resilient because you are amazing. And I want you to stand in your mirror every day and say, I love you. You are worthy. You are enough. You will do great things, and someone's life will be changed because you are in it today. And if you can wake up every day and be a relentless force for yourself first, for your health first, and you can love you, then as a leader, you can do amazing things. Be guided by your words, your thoughts, and your actions, and know that you are loved. And I believe in you. And today is the day for you to believe in you.
Ooh. So on that note, thank you, Dr. Katherine Y. Brown, for joining me on this episode of the Cool Girls Create podcast. That was exactly what I needed to hear, and I'm sure everybody who's listening, that's what they needed to hear as well. T. Westbrook, Dr. Katherine, signing out.
Bye, y'all. Love you.